Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is September 27th. The last series is here. The Yankees and Dodgers clinch. So much to talk about. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? The end of the week. It's Friday and the end of the season as well. 51 series have been played. One to go this weekend. Sure to be a big one for some teams. For others, it's just the last game of the 2024 season, the last series is here, and we've got a big episode going over all the stuff that happened this week. Spoiler alert, it was a lot to go through, so we've got a big one coming up once again. Stay tuned for that. Let's just jump right into it, get through the series recap so we can start talking about some of the big news from the week here. So with that being said, let's dive into our series recap. Leading us off, we've got the O's and the Yanks. We know the pressure is on for Baltimore. They need to sweep this series to still have hope for the AL East division, and they're looking strong. They take the first game 5-3. Not only do they win that game, that clinches them a playoff spot into the postseason. They win the second game 9-7. They were destroying the Yankees. The Yankees almost came back in this one. But the last game, it was an onslaught for New York, a 10-1 victory. The Yankees are your AL East champs. With that win, they clinch the AL East. Red Sox and Blue Jays. This was just a series to have here. Boston fighting for any hope they could have. 4-1, they win the first game. A 6-5 win in the second game. That one went to 10 extra innings here in the 10th inning. Boston scored 3 runs, Blue Jays scored 2. But the Blue Jays finished them in the last game of the series. They win it 6-1 to avoid the sweep. And that also eliminated the Boston Red Sox from postseason contention. Rays and Tigers. Tigers looking to do some damage. They've got a spot. Can they hold on? They beat the Rays 2-1. They beat the Rays 7-1. That eliminated them from postseason contention. And then they were down 3-0. They scored 2 runs in the 6th and 2 in the 8th. The Detroit Tigers with the fight. They sweep the Rays in this series. That's a huge sweep for Detroit. Reds and Guardians now. The 2-game series here. Reds in Ohio taking on the Guardians in Ohio here. 6-1 Guardians and 5-2 Guardians. They're fighting for which first place seed are they going to get, first or second. They get the 2-game sweep over the Reds. Marlins and Twins. So we saw how well the Tigers did. What can the Twins do? Well, they lose 4-1 against the Marlins to open the series. Then tied 3-3 in the second game. They score 5 runs in the 7th to come back. They were down 3-0 and they scored 8 straight. 8-3 Twins. They even up the series. And then this last game, it got ugly. It went into the 13th inning. The Twins were making mistakes and blunders. They just couldn't score. Both teams scored a run in the 10th, nothing in the 11th, nothing in the 12th. Marlins add 2 in the 13th, and the Twins, they can't handle that. The Marlins answered 3. Twins only get the 1, and that finishes them off. Marlins take 2 of 3 against the Twins. They win that one 8-6, and it's not looking good for Minnesota. Angels and White Sox. White Sox 1 loss away from making history. Angels 3 losses away from making their own history. And how about those Chicago White Sox? 3-2 in the first game. They score 3 runs in the 8th to come back and win that one. Second game, it's Andrew Benintendi who walks it off for the White Sox, a base hit to left field to win it 4-3. And the last game was an onslaughter, 7-0 Chicago. The White Sox, I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've swept a series, let alone had a 3-game winning streak. I'm not doing the homework to find that one. Now, White Sox, the sweep. Angels, franchise record for losses. Yikes. Mariners and Astros now. This was a big one. We knew, just like the O's, the Mariners needed this sweep. They start off strong with a 6-1 win. The second game goes away. Astros win it 4-3, and that not only clinches a playoff spot, but they also clinch the AL West. Astros take that one 4-3. Mariners, though, wrap up the series with the win 8-1. They're still trying to hunt for a spot, or are they? Rangers and A's, the final series in Oakland, and it starts hot because Jacob Wilson, the young kid, the potential next face of the franchise for the Athletics at least, he walks it off for Oakland. What a moment. His first career walk-off, obviously, base hit up the middle. A's start their final homestand with a walk-off in the Coliseum. Texas comes back in the second game with a 5-1 win, and then it comes down to the final game in the Coliseum's history. Oakland wins it 3-2, as they should have. Great moments from the game. We'll be talking about that coming up. Royals and Nationals. This is big now, with the Tigers sweeping, with the Mariners taking 2 of 3, with the Twins dropping 2 of 3. Royals, what can they do here in the standings? They win the first game after 0-0 through 9. They score 1 run in the 10th, and that's all they needed. 1-0 Royals there. 3-0 Royals in the second game there. They're looking for the sweep, and with this win, they would knock off the Mariners 7-4. Kansas City. It was 4-4 in the 9th. They score 3 runs to take the lead in the 9th inning. They finished it off like the Tigers. The Royals sweep the Nationals. That eliminates the Mariners, and the Twins, well, they're on a lifeline. Mets and Braves, how important this series was going to be. The Braves take the opener 5-1, and that's all they would play. The next 2 games gets postponed, and this is causing some crazy stuff happening in the world of baseball. We'll have to wait and see on the other 2 Mets and Braves games here. Cubs and Phillies. The Phillies take the first game. They win it 6-2, and that clinches the NL East for them. They punched their tickets. But the Cubs come back in the second game, 10-4 Chicago there, and then 9-6 Phillies. They take 2 of 3 from the Cubs, and they have their eyes set on the postseason. Brewers and Pirates. Brewers win it 7-2 in the opener. 2-1 Pirates to even up the series. Rubber match goes the Brewers' way, 5-2 Milwaukee. And they take 2 of 3 from the Pirates. Cardinals and Rockies, always good to have Nolan Arenado back at Coors. 7-3 Cardinals, 5-2 Cardinals, and then the last game was special for the Rockies. They come back 5 runs in the 8th. They were down 3, and they took 5 runs in the 8th inning to take a 2-run lead. They hold it. Charlie Blackmon hits his 12th home run of the season, a very special home run, because it potentially could be his last, depending on how this series goes. We'll be talking about that. Cardinals take 2 of 3 from the Rockies. Giants and D-backs. The D-backs fighting in the wild card right now. They need these games, and they struggle early. 6-3 Giants, 11-0 Giants. There was no offense for Arizona in that game. They do come back with an 8-2 win in the final game. They do drop the series 2-3 to the Giants, but Arizona is still in control of what happens to them. And the last series here, Padres and Dodgers. This was a big one. If the Padres swept, they would be tied with the Dodgers for the NL West. They win the first game. They had runners at first and second, nobody out. Miggy Roja with Ohtani on deck grounds into a triple play. How amazing is that? What a way to end it. And that clinches playoffs for the Padres. They get to celebrate potential hangovers, because the next game slightly different. Still very high intention, still very close. Dodgers edge one out 4-3 to even up the series and take back their 3-game lead. Last game, any hope for the Padres? They need this win, and they don't. They were up 2-0. Will Smith 2-run home run ties it, part of a 5-run inning for the Dodgers. They win it 7-2 and clinch the NL West. They get another comeback win in the season for them. They're first place in the league with comeback wins. Dodgers take 2 of 3 from the Padres, and that wraps up our series recap. All right, let's get you to the game of the week here. And I mean, there's only one game that kind of stands out. Obviously, there's multiple games that stand out, but one that makes sense here. We're going to Oakland, and it's the first game of the series, not the last. Adolis Garcia doubles for the first run in the top of the first, but here comes Oakland in the bottom of the first right away. Shea Langelaris doubles to tie it. Tyler Soderstrom doubles to give them the lead. JJ Bleday, he grounds out, getting Butler to score and to make it 3-1 Oakland. Nathaniel Lau hits his 14th home run of the season in the top of the fourth. That makes it 3-2. Oakland still with a one-run lead until it's a bases-loaded hit by pitch to Jonah Heim in the top of the fifth. This ties it at 3. Bottom six, though, Zach Geloff, the sac fly, puts Oakland up 1. Top eighth, it's Jonah Heim, his 13th home run on the season. A solo shot ties the game up at 4. And we head to the bottom of the ninth, where Zach Geloff at second base, Jacob Wilson singles up the middle. Geloff scores, and Oakland walks it off for the final time in their history. We can now safely say they win it 5-4, and that is your game of the week. And I mean, sticking with it, I guess we'll start with our baseball news here, talking about Oakland's final game and their final homestand. Yeah, it was quite the games. Tuned in for as much as I can. Watched a lot of baseball this last week across all sorts of divisions. I've been having like the dual screen set up, the four ways on MLB TV. Yeah, it was a really special series, a really special last game. Of course, the walk-off from Jacob Wilson, the last walk-off in their history. After the second game, we saw grounds crew member taking dirt with a shovel and filling kids' bottles and bags and just things. And, sacred land, essentially. This is the final time that people would be here in the stadium and watching their team. And I just feel so bad for the fans. Like, I can't imagine. I think we've done this before in a different episode, or like, this isn't the first time I've talked about this, but to have your team, ripped away from you like it is here. I mean, this has nothing to do with anything but greed and just people who want to make money, and it's just really unfortunate. And we saw it in these final games. We saw how much Oakland, the fans, loved their team here. You know, the signs that were shown and the memories and the people's faces. I watched the last inning of the last game. I watched the post game that they did, and I mean, just seeing all these fans, and even on social media, on TikTok and Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, like so many just great videos and moments. And obviously there were those fans who were running on the field, throwing smoke bombs and that. But for the most part, the fans were really great. They didn't like storm the field at the end. They really had their nice send-off goodbye here. There was one fan that had a sign. He said that he was here for the first pitch in 1968, and he's here for the last pitch in 2024. That's sad, man. That's a long time to be with a team, to be supporting a team. That last game, 46,889 fans were in attendance. And that's the thing, right? So many videos are popping up, not only from the games and from the homestand and the last game, but all of their history, going through the Oakland A's history. They moved from the Kansas City Athletics to the Oakland Athletics in 1968. They started playing in their stadium 1969, where they went 88-74. And I mean, just if you had an owner who cared about the team, who cared about the sport, and there were so many things, like I said, like you have to spend money to make money. John Fisher refused to spend money. You go back 4 years. We're talking the COVID year in 2020. Oakland won the division. Yes, it's COVID year. How much weight do you put on it? Sure. But they were 36-24, and they beat out the Astros. The only team to beat out the Astros in the last 8 years. I, for fun, went to their baseball reference to look at those players. The top 12 players Only one of them is in Oakland A's gear. That's Yusmani Petit, and he's not even playing baseball anymore, I don't think. I think he retired. But Chris Bassett, Blue Jays, Mark Hanna, Tigers, Ramon Laureano, Jake Diekman's in a Mets hat, Liam Hendricks with the Red Sox, Matt Chapman, the Giants, Matt Olson, the Braves, Robbie Grossman's on the Rangers, Sean Murphy's on the Braves, Jesus Luzardo, the Marlins. Like all of these guys who made this team special, like, are gone. And if they just bought those players and they spent some money and fix up that stadium, I mean, we're talking about a completely different outlook and potentially still staying here and being with the team here. I don't really watch post games for other teams besides teams I support, but Brody Brazil and Bip Roberts, I mean, hats off to those two guys. They put on a very meaningful, special post game. I mean, the guys were in tears so many times throughout their post game, and they were talking about moments and all this stuff, showing interviews and of players who have been here. Ricky Henderson, he threw out the first pitch alongside Dave Stewart. Barry Zito, former A's player, he sung the national anthem. I mean, it was just really cool. Like, the whole game was just something so special all the way through to the post game. And the speech made by Mark Kotze, the manager there, at the end of the game, and having who was the player? I think it was Max Schumann. No, that's not right. There was a player, I'm blanking on the name right now. He took one of the flags at home plate, started running around and waving it. It was Max Schumann. Max Schumann did that. And you had guys, Shea Langelares, Lawrence Butler, like, the players knew how much this meant to the fans. It was such an amazing game. I mean, the Coliseum holds so many memories, so many, perfect games, no hitters, walk-offs. They were showing stats of the Coliseum's history. The Coliseum holds the most walk-offs since it opened, 1968, 484 walk-offs. That's 484 special moments in Oakland A's history. The next stadium after that, Dodger Stadium, 462. That's still a crazy amount of walk-off wins. They showed their pitchers' history. Catfish Hunter had 77 wins there. Vida Blue had 70. Dave Stewart, 60. Bob Welch, 54. Barry Zito, 51. They interviewed Mason Miller, and just seeing the graphic come up saying Mason Miller owns the final pitch thrown in Coliseum history. Like, that blows my mind. And you had the head grounds crew who spent 31 seasons with the team. Hundreds of others are losing the job alongside him, and it's so sad because it was so avoidable. The "Let's Go Oakland" chants at the end, all of the great fans, players who camped out from 7 a.m., fans giving heartwarming speeches about bringing their kids here. Dallas Braden, who's in the booth for the A's, he had a really sad story about how his daughters, are saying how, is she not going to be able to go see the games anymore? And no, they won't be able to. It's just so sad. And John Fisher and the Oakland A's ownership, Major League Baseball, it did not need to come to this. It was 30 seasons of low payroll, relocation threats. Like, the fans obviously didn't want to come out. They're going to say, the fans weren't coming. 4,000 fans in a stadium that holds 46, 47,000. If you made the stadium worth going to, if you brought, spent money to make the stadium great, spent money to make the team great, instead of just having lucky players, in their farm system come up, be well, and then trade them off or let them walk in free agency. Like, we're talking about Oakland championships here and moments and memories. And, I mean, I spent a long time talking about this, so I do want to wrap this up, but I mean, we're going to see the Oakland Athletics don the Oakland team, the Oakland jerseys one last time in the final series in Seattle against the Mariners. But I mean, this homestand and the memories, countless. And for the fans, I am so sorry you're getting your franchise stripped from you like this, because no one should be prepared to have a franchise taken away from them. All right, now let's get the mood back here a little bit. Let's talk about the teams that clinched this week, the divisions and postseason spots. Mentioned some of them already in this series recap, but we'll go over them here quickly again. The Phillies clinched the NL East with their win on Monday. So there you go there. On Tuesday, the Oilers and the Padres both clinched playoff spots with wins against the Dodgers and the Yankees. And then the Astros beating the Mariners, they clinched and also got the AL West in the process. So 3 teams clinched on Tuesday, which was great. Nothing Wednesday, and then Thursday, Yankees and Dodgers, they beat the O's and Padres, both clinching their divisions. They both had already clinched postseason spots, but the Yankees are now AL East champions. The Dodgers are now NL West champions. With that being said, the divisions are settled. Yankees, Guardians, and Astros are your division winners in the AL. Phillies, Brewers, Dodgers are your division winners in the NL. So congrats to those 6 teams. 4 of which, I should say, are now fighting for first seed versus second seed. Astros and Brewers locked into the 3. It'll be Phillies, Dodgers fighting for the 1 seed and the 2 seed, and then Yankees, Guardians fighting for the 1 seed and the 2 seed. Advantage goes to the Yankees and the Dodgers. So keep that in mind there. In terms of eliminations, well, Wednesday is how things got started with the Royals and Tigers playing as well as they had been playing. Tigers beat the Rays, and that eliminated them, and the Blue Jays beat the Red Sox, eliminating them. So the Red Sox and Rays got eliminated on Wednesday, and then the Mariners, who weren't even playing Thursday, their magic number was reduced to 1. So if the Tigers and Royals both won and swept their series, the Mariners would be finished. And that's what happened. Royals and Tigers both swept. Mariners got finished out on Thursday. So there you go. So what are we left with in terms of the battles? Well, we have 8 teams that have clinched, and there are still 6 teams in the hunt. 4 spots are available, meaning there's only 2 more teams that need to get eliminated. So there you go. Those are all the clinches and things that happened across the league this week here. And something else that I saw this week that kind of already threw me for a loop, because it happens every year, but you don't really expect it. It kind of creeps on you when it's not like a big major name. Albert Pujols when he retired, Miguel Cabrera, people who play their final games for certain teams. Like, that's happening here because this is the final homestand for some teams. Of course, some of that even was last weekend. And, Alex Bregman got pulled in the last game on Wednesday and got a standing ovation from the Astros faithful. His contract's expired, and he's who knows if he's going to be an Astro come 2025. Patrick Corbin, he finished his final start against the Royals on Thursday, and he was walking off the mound to a standing ovation. His contract's done as well. So, it kind of made me realize, like, oh yeah, some of these players are saying goodbye, like free agents, long time players for a team, or even retirements. And that brings me to Charlie Blackmon, because over the week he announced his retirement, which kind of threw me for a loop, but it kind of also makes sense. He's been in the game a long time. 4-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, batting title winner. He will probably go down as one of the greatest Colorado Rockies to play. 21.2 career WAR for him. He's having an okay year, but compared to his numbers in his prime in the late 2010s, 2014, his first All-Star year, his 2016, 2017, 18, 19, those 4 years, man, his late 20s, early 30s, those were his, I would say, his best years. I think 2017 stands out as his best year of his career. Finished 5th in MVP voting, had 14 triples, 37 home runs, the most in his career, 104 RBIs, a career high, 331 batting average, led the league and was a career high for him. Had a 1 daughter for his OPS, exactly 1,000 on the OPS, led the league in hits, runs, play appearances, everything. He had a great year in 2017. That will go down as his best year, but even this year, 121 games played, 112 hits, 12 home runs with the one he hit yesterday, 52 RBIs, 255 batting average, 739 OPS. Those are still good numbers, but of course, it is more like the fielding aspect, and of course, he's going to be 38 next year. He is up there in age, so he's announced his retirement. He has his last 3 games in Colorado this weekend against the Dodgers. Hopefully he hits one more home run and can have a special send-off with the Rocky faithful here. Spent 14 years with the organization, debuted at the age of 24 in 2011, and he did not move. He had been there with the Rockies through thick and thin, through their few playoff runs and everything from 2011 all the way to 2024. Admirable from Charlie Blackmon. I believe his parents threw out the first pitch to him in the game yesterday, so already special moments for him in what will be his final 3 games of his career. And then when he announced his retirement, a stat popped up on my page with Blackmon, retiring and finishing a career here. The now longest tenured player who has not changed teams is now Mike Trout, which is, if that doesn't show age, I mean, Mike Trout's been in the game for as long as I can remember, so now that he's kind of the top dog, I mean, Mike Trout is getting up there, which is crazy to think about, but it's coming down to that. So Charlie Blackmon will play his final 3 games, and other guys will have their goodbyes for their teams, and final, it's the final. It's crazy what the season ending kind of do to people and kind of like bring out, and yeah. Okay, so now I just want to talk about some of the series that we played this week, and because I talked about how much were big series coming up and things that were important, and how things turned out. So of course, Baltimore, Seattle, they needed to sweep, and they both took 2 of 3. Good for them, but wasn't the sweep. Yankees clinched division. Astros clinched the division. Padres, we talked about, hey, if they sweep the Dodgers, we're talking about, hey, you have the tiebreaker. You have 3 games. Go get the NL West division from the Dodgers. They don't. They win the first to clinch, but they lose the next 2. And the Dodgers clinch. So all those teams kind of wrap up. As expecting, it's a Baltimore. We talked about how they need to sweep, then sweep the Twins, then get the Yankees swept by the Pirates. 9 games to win the division. That just wasn't going to happen. It was going to be a tough one for Baltimore to swing. How about the Tigers and the Royals? Faced, the Royals were on a 7-game losing streak. They were looking bad. The Tigers have gone from nothing to something in the span of just over a month, from having less than, a percentage, 2%, to make the postseason, all the way up to where they are now at like 70, 80, 90. It's such a crazy run from the Tigers. They sweep the Rays, Royals sweep the Nationals, and that helps them out because the Twins lost 2 of 3 to the Marlins, and that's what we got to talk about here. We got to talk about yesterday's game from Minnesota. It was bad. You're in extras. Marlins score in the 10th. Cool. You get your run back. That's fine. You could have scored another. That's fine. 11th inning, you hold the Marlins. You have a winning runner on second base with 3 outs to play. That's a huge game for the Twins. They needed to take 2 of 3, and they don't score. Then in the 12th, you got runners at first and second. You're going for the sac bunt. Gets popped in the air. Where is Santana going? As soon as he made contact, head down, running to third, you got doubled off. That is inexcusable for a postseason team this late in the year. That is unacceptable. And you know what? You're not a postseason team. The Minnesota Twins, they're not eliminated yet, but their magic number, their losing number, is 1. The Royals and Tigers' magic numbers is 1. And we have 3 games left. So what has to happen for the Twins? Well, they have to sweep Baltimore. That sounds like a challenge in its own, right? Not only that, but they need one of the 2 teams in either Kansas City or the Tigers to get swept. So they need 6 games to go their way. Doesn't matter which team. Could be the Tigers, could be the Royals. They have the tiebreaker over both. If the Tigers get swept by the White Sox, or if the Royals get swept by the Braves. I think I know which one is the easier one to get swept by. I think the Royals might have a harder time with the Braves because of how much they're competing for still. But you still have to go out and sweep Baltimore. Baltimore is still playing for home field. They haven't clinched the 4th seed yet, so they're still got to win a game. So they're going to be trying to do that. So, good luck, Minnesota, but you've thrown it away. And a game like yesterday shows why you shouldn't be in there and why, the Tigers on their historic run, good for them. Good for them for breaking their postseason drought, hopefully. I'll be really upset on your Monday talking about, the Twins did it. They swept the O's and the Tigers got swept by the White Sox. That would look bad. But, Minnesota, man, that yesterday's game, if you win that, you have an extra game. You still have a little bit more of a fighting chance. There's a little bit of leg room for it's like, the Tigers could win a game or the Royals could win a game and we could still sweep and do our thing and all that stuff. But no, now it has to be perfect. 6 games going exactly the Twins' way. And I don't see that happening. Other series that meant something, the White Sox and the Angels. Believe it or not, the 15th and the 14th team in the AL had a series that was meaningful. We opened the series, Angels 3 losses away from their franchise worst loss in their history. White Sox 1 loss away from becoming the worst baseball team in the modern era history with 121 losses. And the White Sox sweep the Angels. How funny is that? You got swept by the 2024 Chicago White Sox. That's great. The Angels, this is the worst Angels team in the history. Funny enough, it's the first team after Ohtani left them. So more gifts and gags and hoo-ha for an Angels team that was just bad this year. But not to show you the White Sox also were bad. The White Sox are bad. They got their sweep. They got their 3-game winning streak. Great for them. But there's still 3 games to go. And it's against a team who's competing for postseason. The Tigers are the only team that can take out Baltimore for the 4th seed. So Tigers would need a sweep, and Baltimore would need to get swept by the Twins in order to steal the 4th seed from the O's. So unlikely stuff there, but you never know. Tigers will be competing against the White Sox. Garrett Crochet got pushed back so he could start today on Friday. That's fun. You'll have to see that. So maybe the White Sox can do some damage here against the Tigers, but we'll have to wait and see for the White Sox history. So yeah, we'll just be waiting on that. I think those were all the big series to mention here. The Tigers did something really cool. They called up their top prospect, one of their top prospects, Jackson Jobe. Starter, but he's going to be used out of the bullpen. He was already used this week. He made his MLB debut, got the last 3 outs of an inning in the 9th to help the Tigers beat the Rays. And he's going to be with them, I believe, for the postseason potentially. I'm not sure, but he's up right now and he's helping the Tigers out any shape or form. The O's, they had to option Eloy Jimenez, who they traded for in the trade deadline, because Ryan Mountcastle was back from the IL, so they get some reinforcements that way. So a couple of late ads potentially helping out Tigers and O's here, but a couple. Those are your series that mattered that now don't. And speaking of series that matter that didn't, the Braves and Mets, what are we doing here? Okay, let's talk about this quickly here. Hurricane was coming into Atlanta, and they knew about this. They were talking about things to do here, what they end up doing. They do nothing. And they canceled Wednesday's game. They canceled Thursday's game. Both those games got postponed and is now scheduled for a doubleheader on Monday after the regular season, the day before the wild card. So we gotta, tune in for the news here because who knows what's going on here. This affects entirely this is a huge thing that happened this week, and now a lot to talk about here because, the AL West, the AL is, sorry, I'm saying West and East. The AL wild card is essentially wrapped up. We're going to go into today. Either the Twins are going to lose, and that will do it, or both the Royals and Tigers will win, and that will do it, right? There's something that's... it's very clear what's going to happen unless, like I said, Tigers or Royals get swept and the Twins sweep the O's. Very unlikely. The NL wild card, very different story here because you have the Mets and Diamondbacks who are technically tied right now because Diamondbacks have played 2 extra games, won 1 and lost 1, and the Braves who are 1 game out because they have 2 less games than the Diamondbacks, and they're 1 game back of the Mets, and there's so much at stake here. They're all right there with very similar records, the Diamondbacks just having played 2 extra games. What I do know, and this is something that I've double-checked the math on, is that no matter what happens, all 3 of these teams still control their own destiny, which is really fascinating. If the Diamondbacks sweep the Padres, they have them this week. If they win their last 3 games, they will clinch. The Mets have a 4-game match number. They control that because they have to beat the Braves. And the Braves still have a winning number of 5 because if they can sweep the Mets, they still have this. So there's so much at stake here. And that doubleheader Monday might not happen as a doubleheader. It might not happen at all because it depends on how these 3 games go. If we know what's at stake here and what's been decided, they're not going to play the games. It doesn't make sense because for the Mets, and this is why there's like accusations of tampering and false things, they had to now travel from Atlanta. They're now in Milwaukee to finish their season against the Brewers. They'll play against Milwaukee Sunday. If needed to, then they have to go to Atlanta for Monday to play the 2 games. And then, if let's say they make a wild card, they then have to travel to either Philly, LA, maybe San Diego to play the wild card game on Tuesday. They're playing 4 games in 3 different places with potential very different time zones in the span of 3 days. Very hard for the Mets to do. They're in a really tough position. And even the Braves, I mean, luckily they're still in Atlanta. They've got a series against the Royals in Atlanta. They would stay for the Mets 2 games in Atlanta. And then that's when they would have to travel to either LA, whatever, depending on what seed they get. But at least the Braves are still in Atlanta. The Mets are traveling like crazy. I do not envy the Mets players right now and the traveling agents booking everything and hotels and because it's really tricky for the Mets and Braves here. But yes, if both the Mets and Braves know their fate through Sunday, MLB's probably going to cancel the doubleheader. If the Braves get swept by the Royals, the Braves are out. It's done. You know, the Mets and Diamondbacks, whoever has a tiebreaker, if they end up tied, you know, will get the 5 seed versus the 6 seed, and they'll call it there. If the Mets get swept and the Braves are, you know, if we know the 6 teams in the postseason, they probably won't play those games. They're not going to do it for seeding. You know, if it's just seeding at stake, yeah, it just doesn't matter. The Braves won on Tuesday. They would have the doubleheader. Let's say if Arizona gets swept and the Braves and Mets sweep their series and does everything. You know, if even the doubleheader, if the first game decides what we need to decide, if the Braves win that one and that kind of, you know, clinches them and beats out the Mets for the final spot there, they're not going to play the night game. They're just going to send Atlanta to whatever state, wherever they're going to go play for the wild card. So, I mean, there's so much at stake here that we don't know, and especially Arizona. I mean, how freaky would that be? You finish your season and you're not eliminated and you're not clinched, and you just have to sit there and watch baseball on Monday knowing where you might go, because who knows if you'll be going to San Diego or Philly or Dodgers. Like, one of these 3 teams is going to be hosting Milwaukee. I don't know why I keep saying Dodgers, LA, and Philly. They have byes. They're not even going to be in the wild card series. Either Milwaukee or San Diego. Those are the 2 places where they might end up going. Yeah, the Mets might go Milwaukee to Atlanta, back to Milwaukee. Or yeah, it's crazy stuff here. But the only thing we can do is watch this weekend unfold. Watch the baseball happen. See how the Diamondbacks are playing. See how the Braves are playing. See how the Mets are playing. And if any team is there and if any team clinches, then that kind of makes it easier, you know. And like I said, for Arizona, they have the Padres, which is a tough team. But if they can sweep, they're in. And that's what I think they have to focus on, is just winning their games. Because the last thing you want to do is not know your fate entering Monday, not knowing if you'll be playing Tuesday, or even getting eliminated by the means of the Braves and the Mets. So a lot to play for. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see how it unfolds this weekend. And of course, on Monday, when we talk about the end of the season, we'll talk about whatever happens, whatever news unfolds this weekend, and whatever ends up going on with the Braves and Mets. If they have to play that doubleheader, we'll have to cover that as well. So a lot going on in the baseball world for those two teams, that postponement. And of course, we don't even know the state of Truist Field and Atlanta as a whole right now because the Royals are coming into town. If they have to postpone the Royals and Braves game tonight, like that sets up a whole tricky stuff in the AL wildcard. So we'll have to just wait and see, let things unfold, and the pieces will fall into the places here. But yeah. Okay, so with that all being wrapped up, let's talk about the injury updates from the week here. Austin Riley season is over after a CT scan showed that his right hand fracture will not heal fast enough. So the Braves are losing out on their starting third baseman. Grayson Rodriguez with a lat strain, he's not going to return this year, so a bit of a blow there for Baltimore. And then something to keep an eye out for, Freddie Freeman, last night's game against San Diego, he exited after rolling his ankle running first base. Hopefully he is okay. We do not want to see someone like Freeman get hurt at this point in the year with what's at stake. So he might get a day off here or two just to make sure he's all good to go for the Dodgers postseason, but something to keep your eyes out for. Moving on here, we've got outstanding performances. We got a nice short list for the week here. Bryce Miller, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 Ks. Tarek Skubal, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 7 Ks. Eric Fetty, 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 10 strikeouts. Zach Gallen, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts. And then Garrett Cole, 6 2/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 5 Ks for your outstanding performances. The stat leaderboard, looking over it one last time here. Bobby Witt Jr. still leading in average, 332. Bobby Witt still leading in hits at 209. He's right now the only still 200 hit hitter. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is 3 hits away from 200. Luis Arias is 4 hits away from 200. So those are the only 2 guys that could also maybe join him unless Ohtani goes a crazy weekend here. I think he's at 192, 190. Aaron Judge had a big week of hitting home runs. He's up to 58. 3 games to go. 2 home runs from 60. Can he do it in against the Pirates here? He also leads in RBIs with 144. Crazy amount of RBIs. Runs. It's a new leader this late in the year. Ohtani, 131, surpassed Bobby Witt by a mile. He is now leading in runs. Aaron Judge still leads in walks at 133. De La Cruz with stolen bases at 65. Aaron Judge, OPS 1.169. For pitchers, Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal, which, by the way, if they do not win the Cy Youngs, I'm going to be upset. Chris Sale should be the NL Cy Young winner. Tarek Skubal should be the AL Cy Young winner. That's how I feel. I will stand by that. And if they both don't win, that's upsetting because they have been killing it every single start. They've been on this chart in the ERA. They've been split in time, either being tied or back and forth. Wins, they're both tied with 18. Chris Sale leads in ERA at 2.38. Tarek Skubal leads in strikeouts at 2.2. 228 strikeouts for Skubal. They're going to be Triple Crown winners potentially. Like, it's just been outstanding year for these 2 guys. And for the saves, it's back to Ryan Helsley. So Emmanuel Clase, 1 save behind Helsley, looking to lead MLB in saves for 3 straight years for the first time in its history. No ever closing pitcher has led the league in saves for 3 straight years. Clase needs to get that save back on Helsley. He's at 48 and Clase is at 47. And that is your stat leaderboard. Looking at it now, we've got the upcoming series, the final series of the season, the 52nd and last series on the season. Usually I do it based off of AL East to Central to West and then NL. We're going to be doing it by least important to most important here. So the series that really don't mean nothing for in terms of playoffs and anything in the postseason picture. Marlins at Blue Jays, Rays at Red Sox, Rangers at Angels, Reds at Cubs, Cardinals at Giants, A's at Mariners. The next 4 games here for seeding. So Phillies at Nationals, Dodgers at Rockies, Pirates at Yankees, Astros at Guardians. This is for the 1 seed and the 2 seed. Phillies, Dodgers, Yankees, Guardians competing for that. Of course, Astros, Guardians could be a potential playoff matchup as well. So that is, despite it not meaning much besides seeding, that's going to be a great series to watch. And then the 5 series that really matter. Orioles at Twins. Of course, Twins need a sweep there. White Sox at Tigers. White Sox for history. Tigers for their postseason berth. Royals at Braves for postseason berths for both sides there. Mets at Brewers. And Padres at D-backs. Those are the 5 series to watch. If you care about baseball and you care about the postseason picture, those are the ones to really care about for the final series of the season. Looking over now, magic numbers. The magic numbers that still remain. We've talked about some of them already, but we'll go over them here quickly. The Royals and the Tigers, both of their magic numbers are at 1. So if the Royals beat the Braves, if the Tigers beat the White Sox, they clinch. But there's also a caveat because the Twins, like I said, need to sweep. If the Twins lose to the O's, it doesn't matter what happens with the Royals and Tigers. They will both clinch postseason spots as well. They are still tied, so they still have to settle, for the 5th seed versus the 6th seed, who takes on the Astros and who takes on the O's, essentially, unless the Tigers sweep and the Twins sweep. And, there's so many caveats and little details here, but they still have to figure that out as well. In terms of seeding, the Yankees to clinch the 1 seed, their magic number is 2. So a Yankees win against the Pirates and a Guardians loss against the Astros will mean the Yankees will be the 1 seed and the Guardians will be the 2. And then, as mentioned, Baltimore's magic number for home field advantage in the wildcard round and the 4 seed is 1. So an O's win against the Twins or a Tigers loss. It's got to be the Tigers because the O's don't have a tiebreaker against Tigers but do have it against the Royals. So it needs to be a Tigers loss or an O's win. That clinches them the 4 seed and home field in the wild card. For the NL side of things, the Diamondbacks' magic number is 3. The Mets' magic number is 4. The Braves' magic number is 5. They all control their destiny here. If they win out, they're in. Losing numbers, Braves is 4, Mets is 5, and that's because they need to lose against each other. Of course, we'll see if those 2 games on Monday need to be played, if they matter at all. So some things to keep an eye out for there. And taking a look at the seeding numbers, the Dodgers' magic number for the 1 seed is 3. So a little bit more work for the Dodgers to do there. If they sweep the Rockies, that will do it, no matter what happens with Philly. If Philly gets swept, doesn't matter. Dodgers can also get swept, or any combination of the two. But there's still hope there. And then the Padres' magic number for the division is 4 for the NL, the NL home field advantage 4 seed and the wild card there. So still hope. And of course, they play the Diamondbacks, so they're going to be fighting for that. So there's definitely some great baseball to be had, some postseason feeling energy baseball games here. So that's stuff you love to see. Speaking of the postseason, we have one last playoff predictor to do here. So let's get it done. If the season ends today, it ends Monday, but if it ends today, the Royals would take on the Astros. The Tigers would take on the O's. The Astros beat the Royals, and how about the Tigers take down Baltimore? ALDS matchup, Tigers at Yankees, Astros at Guardians, and the Tigers' historic run keeps going. The Guardians beat the Astros, so the ALCS matchup is in the AL Central Division. Tigers at Guardians. This is where the Tigers' run ends. The Guardians head to the World Series. On the NL side, if the season ends today, it's the Diamondbacks and the Brewers, and then the Mets and the Padres facing off in the wild card series. Brewers beat the Diamondbacks, Padres beat the Mets. So our NLDS matchups, Padres at Dodgers, Brewers at Phillies. There's one of those that really is special, Padres and Dodgers. Padres beat the Dodgers. Phillies beat the Brewers, so we have an NLCS rematch from a couple years ago. Padres at Phillies. It's once again the Phillies handling the Padres business. They head to the World Series. The 2024 World Series matchup, Guardians versus Phillies. and it is your Cleveland Guardians that are your 2024 World Series champions. That wraps up the playoff predictors from this year. We did 24 of these, and this was the first time the Tigers were in one. But I mean, if there's going to be one that you're in, you want it to be the last one. Can they do it? I think they can. Special shout, Yankees, Guardians, Baltimore, Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies. These 6 teams are the only 6 teams to have been in every single playoff predictor we have done this year. They made all 24, 5 of which were all division winners. So it kind of makes sense as to why they had been in it for so long, Baltimore being the only one who didn't win the division that's been in the postseason picture the whole year round. Looking at it, the Royals had the most wildcard exits with 14. Guardians, the most ALDS losses with 14. The Dodgers had the most CS losses with 9. The most runner-ups were the Yankees. They lost the World Series matchup 4 times. And according to this, the champions, the most times a team was champions, Guardians, Padres, and Dodgers in 24 won it 3 times each. So they are the winners of the playoff predictor this season. I don't know if I did this last season, but that wraps up the playoff predictor. That wraps up the episode here today. Ladies and gentlemen, a wild one and a long one. Thank you so much for sticking with me and enjoying this one. We've got one more with the regular season here. A lot coming up over the next couple of episodes here. Of course, Monday we'll be talking about the end of the regular season, previewing hopefully all 4 wildcard matchups. Maybe not, depending on how the Braves and Mets go. We'll have to wait and see. And then Friday we'll be talking about the wildcard matchups as well as players of the month of September, and of course the AL and NL Division Series previews. So a lot going on here in the next couple of episodes here. I thank you guys so much for sticking with me and staying tuned for all of the postseason action coming up shortly here. October baseball is upon us. The last series is here. Go and watch your team's last game if you can. Very special moments here and potential last games and goodbyes for some players and teams. So thank you everybody so much, and I will see you on Monday.